ground balance, and so much more. It's getting clearer all the time. All we see are all these dead straight lines, and show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. This is where I make my stand. Please don't take me to your la-la land. It's all about geometry. All we see is horizontally. Show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. Show me what's in reality, and I won't compromise between the truth and lies. Reality is all I see. I don't need your fantasy. I've had enough of sophistry. I'll find my own philosophy. Reality is all I see. I don't need your fantasy. I've had enough of sophistry. I'll find my own philosophy, and you can't bend reality into what you think your cognition sees. Something's happening to me. Don't remind me of how things used to be. We don't need no sycophants. Aren't we all just so sick of that?
And we are live. Welcome everyone. We've just been discussing developments within the arena, let's say. This Discord, I guess it's social media type thing. So it appears that the powers that be have the ability to well, I don't know. It appears that your internet character is now a little bit more meaningful. So one of the servers that I normally put my videos out to, I've just noticed it's not there on Discord. That's I think it was called ADL.
Afternoon.
I can't even remember what that was for. The Anti-Disinformation League? Yeah. Anyway, it's not there anymore. It's gone. I don't know what occurs with any of that. It doesn't seem to be much communication for people letting other people know. So it appears we just have to carry on being who we are. And I don't think we've had any trouble like that, but it's pretty obvious that the powers that be can shut anybody down at any time. Depends what they're doing. I think we've managed to miss away from all of that sort of stuff. Not really bothered about the drama, although we do seem to bring a lot of drama on. That's not our intent. I think I'll try and go over tonight what I was doing and why I initially came here. I think most of the stories have been told, but this is the all change. This is initially from what I came here to do. So from now on, the actual mission is on. I've practiced everything I need to do, and I'm going to be going forward with this. Basically, just letting people know that there are people that misrepresent people. There are, I call them liars, deceivers, and they're all over the place. They cause confusion and stop conversation in any way they can. Mainly through shutting communication channels down. It's obvious the way it goes. Certain people like Nathan Oakley, with the unsubscribe from them, let's do all of that, and it's effective. Obviously, it stops people from talking and communicating. And I think this is one of our midweek shows, isn't it? So there's not an awful lot of people. I think we did ourselves in when we did the philosophy. Well, these are the better times. Yeah, so...
Excuse me, Ben. I find that a little bit strange because I thought the philosophy stuff that we went through was some of the most riveting conversations that we've had here.
Yeah. Yeah, but the... say the arena that we're in isn't queued up for that. We've been placed in the wrong place, and this group of people want to keep us in this bullshit arena, right? There's people that think that this has got something to do with flat earth or globe earth or whatever, and it's got nothing to do with that. This is about,
I'd say more about the psychology. Yeah,
it's more about people and how you grow and how you gain knowledge and all of that. So that was the idea. That's what I came into this for. I wasn't I think, like most people, the internet obviously was new for those of us of a certain age. The internet didn't exist when I was a lad. So it's been different for me watching my sons grow up in playing computer games, like from birth, having a controller in the hand. I didn't even know what a controller was when I was a kid. And I'm guessing most of the people that listen to us are the similar sort of age. At least the demographic seems to say that on YouTube. However much you can believe that, I don't know. It says there are no women watching me. So not one. The algorithm. So I came into this thinking, well, I didn't come into it thinking I'd get anything out of it, but I obviously had questions. Silly questions. Like, how do you measure how far away the moon is? People gave me a challenge. Oh, go on, sorry.
With angles. Plural, angles, plural.
No, you can't. The simple answer is you can't.
But that's how they claim to do it.
Well, nobody claims to be able to do it. Like, it's one of the questions that nobody ever attempts to answer because there is no answer to it. So they don't even attempt it. There's a lot of this ECV in this arena where people just avoid questions that are a bit awkward. It's a simple fact. You can't do it. In order to measure, you need a start point and an end point. You need to be able to get to both of them with a measuring device. Certain things you can't do. They're impossible. Yet people do claim to be able to do them and avoid questions about it. That's why I came in. I was talking to Jesse Kozlowski on the Twitters. I listened to Mick West. I was talking to Soundly, all on Twitter. Met Sly Sparkane, all on Twitter. There's loads of I call them trolls, but they're just obfuscators. They taught me that people avoid answering questions. So in order to do that, what they do is they do this technique, I call it now subversal within Imaginometry. It's a technique where you can turn a question around on the person that asked it you, and you can also project anything that you want to add onto the other person at the same time. It confuses people because they don't know how to reply to this sort of thing. It's a non-argument, and it's a way that a lot of people develop tactics in order to not communicate. So knowing that the problem they had was that level is obviously horizontal, yet I was talking to a group of people who were pretending that it wasn't. It couldn't be. Didn't really have the similar sort of arguments that they have nowadays. They've developed these non-arguments, avoidance tactics to new levels over the 4 years. And I've talked to a lot of people. I do believe I've talked to more people about basic geometry than a kindergarten teacher, really. And it shocked me to find how little adults actually know how to relate the mathematical concepts of geometry to reality. How little people actually think about it. Yet they're willing to be led by shadow giants, people that just tell them things, into ridiculing people for no reason. There's a lot of bigots within this arena, and I'm guessing, like, we've been let's say I've been confined to this arena because the people that are in it, these trolls, they're vile, horrible people. And what tends to happen is, it's happened today, I decided to comment on an other person's Twitter account. And what happened was a group of these dogmatic model fanatics, they descended onto the thread and turned it into a well, I don't know, just like a slander fest or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Most people wouldn't even believe what these people do, but they do it to me everywhere. See, I can't go and talk to anybody about anything because this group of people decide to follow me everywhere. And I sort of feel responsible for the person I'm talking to. That this group herd of dogmaticians that follow me around everywhere, they've got no reason to, other than to just sort of shut down conversation. And that is all because of the very simple argument that we have, the advanced simplicity. We've had it since day one. Simple argument, simple statement, and it's very triggering people. It triggers them a lot. So what we've been doing is we've been developing these arguments, but with a reason and an understanding that in the future there is a very big lesson for people to be taught, and advanced simplicity and how you communicate with people about these things. Now, these people have done a very, very good job of confining us into an arena, right? Now, one group, the dogmatic globe believers, right? They say, if you disagree with us, then you're a flat earther, right? So that ends up with us disagreeing with them, obviously, because they've got a dogmatic model. They don't live in reality. They can't have any proofs. They put us in a group of flat earthers. But then we look at the flat earthers and say, you guys aren't like us. You say stupid things too. So we're not a flat earther. We can prove it's not flat. Which then puts us out of the flat earther group. But still not in the globe earther group. So the problem here is that there seems to be a dilemma between two models only within this arena, right? Because this is the fake model arena. Now, everybody that lives in reality, they are completely unaware of either of these models. They're just living life in the real globe model. That's who we're here to represent. I've been watching, I've been listening to, and I've been learning from how to communicate with people. And it's become abundantly clear that any mention of either of these models, the dogmatic globe or the flat earth model, then a fight happens. Something shuts down people's brains. Yet people are in this arena for years, going round and around and imagining that they're fighting for a cause, when really they're fighting two dogmatic models. One of them, a dogmatic rule book for the entire model, and they know they have no proof. The other one is they've been taught dogmatic arguments, but they're not real arguments. They're just arguments that you can play with the dogmatic globe model, right? So they're arguments based around the dogmatic model. That's what the flat earthers play with. So anybody looking in from the outside, what they see is flat earthers and globe earthers, and people look in and say, I can't do that, and then they go back to their life. They completely just forget about it, because this is crazy town. What we've just been doing in the last final weeks is hopefully explaining to everybody about the straight line. The group of people that we're in here with literally want to change the meaning of straight. And hopefully we've been able to let people know that impossibilities are impossibilities for a reason, right? There's a way for you to know when something is impossible. Well, these guys, they've had that impossibility check removed. They've lost the ability for them to be able to deduce mathematics with an on and an off switch. They've lost that binary ability, the 0 and the 1. There's something else in there somewhere. And that hopefully is what we're going to be doing over these next few, well, starting from now really, we're going to be putting these arguments out. Now, the arguments are very simple, and the reactions to them are very extreme when you talk to a certain group of people. Now, anybody outside this arena is going to be, they're going to be wondering what you're talking about, because these things that we talk about are so evident, self-evident and obvious to 99.9% of the population. The 0.01% of the population is in the arena that we're in. It's a tiny little group, not representative of the real world at all. I hope. Fingers crossed. Because I've learned that this is crazy town. People in this arena are, well, modern day times is drama. That's all people are bothered about. Drama, fighting, arguing, all of that. There's no conversation. There's no learning. There's no people progressing. There's no intelligent conversation. There's just people slagging each other off, getting angry at each other. It's modern day. Social media has done that to people. And it's going to be troubling for future generations. Because I think this is one of those things that you can't keep a grip on. There's too many people in the world. There's too many people to disagree with anything you ever do. And the people that have been disagreeing within the arena, like I've explained today, they won't let us leave this arena. They don't want normal people hearing about what it's like in this arena. They want you to stay in this arena. Yeah, everybody does know what a straight line is, but that gets really hard. Yeah, the reality is just reality. Definitions of things have to be proved. And that's what we do. We don't change it. Just the arena is the arena. It's going to carry on doing whatever it does. You literally cannot change anything as a single person. It's up to everybody individually to, I don't know. But I do know that I've learned enough from this particular arena. I don't need to learn anything more. There's a group of people now that are literally denying straight. I don't need to talk to those people. I need to go out and find out how widespread this denial of straight gets. How can you talk to somebody about this without getting them triggered about globe or flat? It's pretty obvious that you can't talk to a flat earther about this, and you can't talk to a globe earther, a fully indoctrinated. That's what I'm talking about. But especially if you say, well, what's your definition of flat earth? And what's your definition of globe earth? There'd be as many different answers as there are people that you ask. Which means everyone's an individual, and everybody's idea of what these things are is also individual. So you have to talk to people. You cannot be putting people in groups. Even if people want to put themselves in groups, it just doesn't make any sense. You don't talk to them as though they are a group. You talk to an individual. I don't know whether anybody would be wanting anybody to speak for them or on behalf of them within a group. That's ridiculous. So coming into this, obviously, I wasn't a flat earther, and I'm still not a flat earther. A lot of people are still missing what the idea is here. Now, I had an accident. I was in an accident and lost a model from when I was about 7. Literally lost the growing up model. So I had to grow up without, I I don't know what you call it. Suppose you'd call it the framework that you get placed in your understanding, how you build upon that, your initial rule book. That was taken away. So I don't have a model to this day. But more importantly, I don't have a need for a model. I don't see a reason for it. There's no sufficient reason for me to decide that I should have a model for the thing where I'm living. So, when people try and tell me, force me or whatever to answer a question for them, it's not as if it's a big deal. It's just that I don't have a model. I can't tell you what shape it is because I don't care. And I don't have a model. So why would I have to believe anything? Sort of lived my life with epoche. The releasing all dogma. I don't have dogma to start off with. I don't believe there's a need for dogma at all. And that's the problem within the school system, is that you take it on. You take this on as your own whenever you learn stuff. But if you have a model given to you from birth that allows you to incorporate something into that model, then you can build upon that model for yourself. If you don't have that model, then it's hard for you to build something upon it. And there's nothing really there. People call me because it sounds like I'm simple, but it's just that I haven't got a model there. So to get people to say things that I guess that they're not ready for is something you can only do if you don't have the model. But I can't put myself in other people's positions and to know what the difference is. That only comes through conversation. And I think that's the conversation that's been missing. It's like, what are people taught? How do you gain knowledge? Where does it come from? And what are you building it on? Do you relate everything to something that's already there? In my understanding of learning geometry, from the start, everything is relative to something, but you have to have the something in order to make something relative to it. It goes with the definitions of the trivium of how you build upon things for an understanding. Well, if you start with nothing, then you can't really have anything to make it relative to. And it gets tricky. I just said gadget. No, my car knackered. The car broke down, so I couldn't even start the car to get out. So yeah, my car's not too well. It's all right though. We'll get out. Where was I? Yeah, Saragaki says there, reality exists, no model needed. And that's the way I am. I think there are a few people that are like that. And if there is anybody that wants to come and have a conversation about all of this, model free, then please come in. I've had enough of the model. I don't want to be talking about anybody's models. We just talk about reality. Leave the model out of it. Surely everyone can come and talk about reality. Yes, Jim, we have got the water level test. It has already been done, and it will be talked about a lot more. Like I say, all of the things we have done have been testing and training to find basically what I'm doing. I guess everybody's trying to find themselves in life. That's what most people are here for, I think. Like we're not after I'm not after trying to prove anything to anybody else. I don't feel the need to prove things to other people. All I'm here for, and all I ever have been here for, is for a conversation, because I know the conversations are the things that inspire me into new things. If I don't talk to new people and hear new things, then I'm never going to learn about these new things. And my thinking now is I want to learn more about the philosophy and the nature of learning, the nature of knowledge, how people, because it's fascinating me, literally fascinates me, how people can believe certain things and how people can be controlled by what they already know. The words that people use can definitely affect people in a way. I'm going to start calling it magic, the use of words. Because the use of words to trick, to deceive, that's magic. And the only way to combat that is logic. Logic helps you see contradictions, to find the identity of the thing, to piece a logical reasoning process to come to a conclusion. Magic is the way to trick people within that. So exposing the magic, revealing the magician's tricks. That's what we're doing. That's what we've been doing. We've been watching a lot of people do a lot of strange things in order to shut down conversations for quite a lot of years. I've been watching people avoid certain questions. So I know now what the questions are that people can't answer. And when I say people, I mean definitely people outside of this arena. We've been taught by the people within the arena how they obfuscate. We've taught them how to obfuscate new stuff. Super chats aren't working. I don't know. Can't help you there. Can't see why it shouldn't be. Might just be a YouTube thing. Yeah, I don't know. Can't help you. Sorry. I'll be sorting something out anyway, because we are going to be doing these tests. I'm hoping we can get under the horizon too, but it'll be a proper one to let people know what we're doing. The idea is to let people know what we were doing here in the first place. That was to let people know that level is horizontal. Really, it's a very basic thing. Somebody said, can you prove it? And I said, yeah, I'll give it a good go. It's all right, Gadget. We'll sort it out. I can't. I don't know what to do. Yeah, so the idea is that we we will be able to prove that level is horizontal. But the unfortunate thing is, like we've been saying for quite a while, when you prove that level is horizontal, then you can use level being horizontal to measure elevation changes. That proves it's not flat. So flat earthers get upset that, you know, we're measuring elevation changes and it's not flat, because some of them like to imagine that mountains are actually flat, measured flat. I don't know what it means by that, but we definitely measure elevation changes, which prove it's not flat. And obviously the globe guys don't like it because they don't like level being horizontal. So there's just us left with proofs in reality of both it not being flat and obviously inconvenient truths for the dogmatic globe guys. Stuck in the middle. It was me fuel. I think it was pissing out. My fuel level was going down and it wasn't making it to the engine. Just making it to the floor of the car underneath. It's fixed though. Well, hopefully I'll get it fixed tomorrow. So people might say misrepresent what we're saying. I'm not misrepresenting anything. I've been saying it since day one. We can prove in reality that level is horizontal. Obviously, the guys that are opposing us should obviously say that we can prove it's not. Like they do. Well, they just say it's not. They say, no. But obviously, they can't put anything up to counter the proof that level is horizontal. Strange part is, nobody ever wants to come round and see it. Proof. Exactly how you would prove it. What would be the method for you to go around to prove it? Well, we've got many of such proofs. But we put them together and we call them realizing Euclid, because these proofs are where you come to realize that the mathematical proofs you gain within Euclidean geometry and just basically normal mathematics, may sound like a fancy name, but it's not. It's just normal geometry, basic geometry, logical reasoning that you can do for yourself. Anyone can do it. You use that geometry and you make it real, as in reality, you incorporate the proof process through geometry and you place that into reality. You make a direct relationship between the mathematical proof and how you relate those mathematical proofs to reality. You make that connection. It's a true proof because it occurs in the mind. And once you understand the proof process, you can then understand basically how the scientific method works by relating this proof idea of a concept of logical argumentation, and you relate that to reality, and that gives you an actual proof in reality. That you can realize that, you know, for you, it gives you a certainty and a certain understanding that you've gone through this process. It's a little bit difficult because if somebody isn't willing to go through that process, then they're never going to get the proof, and they can ask you for it as much as they want. And if you, it doesn't matter how many times you've performed that proof, how certain you are that it is a proof, if they're not accepting of it, they're just never going to pick it up. Okay, thanks guys. You do know we've got the t-shirt shop up and running. I will have to get that going. if there are some designs, if anybody thinks of anything that they want to do, we're going to be basing it on these logic five arguments. I was hoping to go out to get everybody in on the, how the arguments will go, all of that sort of stuff. Thanks, guys. The best team ever. So, and if anybody does want to get involved with this sort of stuff, then jump in the Discord. That's the best place for the conversations to occur. How to, well, I don't know, just how to communicate with people. If you think that normal life is a little bit strange and you don't know how to talk to people because, some people aren't really accepting of the conversations, it gets a little bit tricky of who you should be able to talk to and who you can talk to about these things. Well, there are places that you can go, but I think for a different sort of conversation, try it out on the Level Discord. We're a pretty good group of people, and we will be doing all of this stuff live, so it's better if you get in and get to know us, because why not? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building arguments, and then we're going to be relating those arguments to reality, and we call that realizing Euclid, making real the Euclidean principles of proof in reality. Now, obviously, as we've heard just recently, there are a group of people that will go to any lengths to stop people from doing this sort of really simple basic truths. And they'll start off by saying that you don't know what straight is. You can't prove what straight is. But I think we've gone past that. So, thank you very much, Gadget. Yeah, I'd love to see him get he's getting a new camera tomorrow, I think. Fingers crossed. Because it's his birthday. Yeah, my photographer's birthday. It's becoming 17. So that's 4 years we've been dealing with this arena. It was 4 years ago, earlier on this year when we went to Bedford, where we first got his P1000. So we've got the drone. It's going to be great. We're going to be start making these videos. We're going to make these the arguments right now. The arguments, I was saying, they are going to be pretty triggering, right? Now, within the arguments, we have modus ponens, modus tollens, the transitive law of equality. I think we have a QED. Can't really miss out a demonstrable proof, and obviously the most fun, the reductio ad absurdum. Five proofs. Now, in order for us to fit them into a logical process, they're all going to be based around reality and stipulations that they must be relatable to reality. Each one of these arguments have to follow the rule. Advanced simplicity, 1. So they're broken down to the most simple you can possibly make them. The logical argument. You shouldn't be able to make it any simpler to make as many people understand. 2, you should be able to do it in reality to represent. It should be easy representable in reality. And 3, they should develop people's understanding of logical process. Now, when you hear these arguments and logic, early on. I remember when I first heard about it, it sounded fantastic. It sounded like it was mathematical, but it's not. It's mathematical with words, which confuses people even more. It's like a literary version of mathematics that troubles the mind. Well, it doesn't trouble the mind. It gets the mind active, which is half of the reason I like the idea of it, because try thinking. The idea is to get people to at least attempt thinking about things that they haven't thought about before. Especially within modern day. There's a lot of confusion going around because I think people don't understand the thought processes that are going on in their own heads. So a lot of the time, Spot On taught me that to calm the mind. Step one, if your mind is racing away, you can't really have a coherent thought. You need to, step one is calm the mind and stop, process the information. We've got our usual, obviously, old school guy coming in with arguments from about 6 years ago. So welcome RP Smash. Try your best. They're old school shit. I think we're done with it. I think it's about time that people like that, obviously he knows that whatever he's trying to do is not intelligent at all. It's not going to work. And I think they're losing an argument that not many people want to have. There isn't much of an argument going around to combat any of this stuff that we've got. And we have got a lot of really basic things that I think they're undeniable. You can't, irrefutable even, most of the arguments that we've said. Even some tautologies, they're that good. We are that good at making arguments. We literally make tautologies that we know for a fact can't be beaten. And they think that's unfair of us, but I'm sorry, that's the way it goes. Reality always trumps delusions. No matter how many people have the delusions, reality's always going to trump all of this stuff. So if anybody does want to come in and have a conversation, an intelligent conversation, I was hoping that we might be able to get a chat with Matthew Learns or some sort of a mathematician, because the people within this arena are far too triggered to talk about things. Even straight lines seem to be a little bit too much for some people. And obviously, the level is a straight line on a horizontal plane, and I've added to that today because we do have the vertical planes as well. Can't leave the vertical planes out. So plumb is a straight line within a vertical plane, not just a straight line. All depends on orientation, but you know how that goes. Like Saragaki's got the perpendicular. What we need to do is I need to obviously the arguments are sorted, but what they need to be done with them is to be put into a video form that can, that aids the advanced simplicity, right? We need to make it as understandable as possible, because we know that there are some people who make it really difficult. They want you to explain it more simply, and they've taught us to refine arguments to make them as simple as possible. What we need to do now is to be able to place that in a encompass the entire argument in a short visual thing and add the power of the meme to it. So if you can add the visual to the argument, we can get a tautology in a visual frame. Keep it down to about a minute. I don't know what shorts are on YouTube, but that would probably, if we could keep it as a short and then develop the shorts. That's what I'm trying to do. I've got a lot of things, a lot of projects on. I don't know what we are doing tomorrow. I think tomorrow daytime I've got a conversation that I did have that I've put into a video to explain the caliber of the dogmatic globe defenders and how little they actually know about their own model. I think that goes for everybody though, right? Everybody has people that you have to relate to. I don't know what I'm saying. We want to try and give these simple arguments a chance to air a conversation piece around it. The arguments obviously will stand alone as an argument, but they will induce a lot of conversation. And we know that there are a lot of people that want to obfuscate these very simple arguments. Well, once we've put the arguments out there, there's nothing you can do about it. You will need to let the arguments do what the arguments do. That's why the clarity needs to be put into the video at first. The conception of video needs to be done correctly, because if people misrepresent these arguments, and they have the ability to misrepresent them, they will. And I think that would be a shame. So we want to go over a few of the problems that people have been having today. There was quite a few. Jero's been doing the answering the questions. Angle questions. What we're doing is we're compiling a list of useful geometric facts, and what we're doing is we're coming up against a problem, and the problem is that when people talk about spherical geometry, they don't seem to realize it's not real. It doesn't actually exist in reality. So they're relying on the facts that this thing that isn't real is part of their argument. So if people have fictional things, it's like somebody bringing Harry Potter into an argument. It's not going to help you much. You can't cast spells and bring forth dragons to help you in an argument. And that's what they're doing. Whenever anybody wants to imagine that spherical geometry is a thing, that it exists, that you can actually measure triangles with more than 180 degrees, it's a fantasy. They can never show it you because it doesn't happen in reality. cannot be demonstrated. And if anything cannot be demonstrated, then it's not applicable in argumentation. Because that's one of the abilities of arguments, is to be able to be applied to reality. If you can't apply it to reality, then it's not really an argument. You're just making up shit. Fantasizing about things. And to be quite honest, the people that have been around here trying to argue with us have been arguing things that aren't really arguable. They're geometric facts that are provable. So we've sort of courted a belief within people that they've allowed themselves to imagine that they are clever, right? That they were winning, when really they were just fantasizing. And they've allowed the pats on the back from their friends and the consensus opinions. They've allowed those to become real. And they actually think now that they've undone geometric facts of reality. The people that we're talking to now imagine that they've defeated Euclid by dismissing a straight line. Now they send certain people in, people you've never really heard of. It's a very very often used tactic of just having a load of soccer accounts to say ridiculous things. And then, of course, you have the other ones, the farmers' boys, that sort of shout things from the distance to get people to repeat it. Well, we're in that situation where fools have believed these characters that aren't brave enough to come and say that themselves. And now the fools are the only people that are saying these things. So in charge of the opposition, let's say, to straight lines and basic geometric facts is a load of fools running around with imaginations that they can just reimagine geometry and straight lines in reality because of a dogmatic model. Wow. Okay. Does anybody want to do? Go over anything? I don't. We're gonna go over the a few little clips. I need to make a brew though. Yeah. Yeah, please do. If somebody wants to go over something, speak away. That's what we're here for. That's perpendicular argument. Right, I think I'll put a Buster song on for a bit then, and just do one Buster. I'll be back shortly. Ontology. Back in a mo.
Let me give you an analogy. And I already have the idea in my mind. Existence must be necessary to the idea.
Advanced simplicity takes hold. You'll find truth from things of old.
I have an idea in my mind. I have an idea in my mind that a triangle exists. The idea in my mind. But the angles of a triangle do not add up to 180 degrees. Think about it. I have an idea in my mind that a triangle exists. But the angles of a triangle do not add up to 180 degrees. What's the conclusion?
We are on the road, suspending judgment until the truth is known.
Think about it.
You will find peace within, in the midst of all these troubled souls.
I have an idea in my mind. What's the conclusion? You don't know what a triangle is. Or you're flat out contradicting yourself.
Advanced simplicity takes hold.
You're flat out contradicting
You'll
yourself.
find truth from things of old.
You don't know what a triangle is. Or you're flat out contradicting yourself. Just as it is necessary for a triangle to have 180 degrees. What's the conclusion? You don't know what a triangle is. Or you're flat out contradicting yourself. Think about it. It is necessary for a triangle to have 180 degrees. That is a necessary property of triangularity, triangleness.
We are on the road, suspending judgment until the truth is known.
Think about it.
You will find peace within, in the midst of all these troubled souls.
Therefore, the fool is in a self-contradiction. He violates the principle of non-contradiction.
There's no end game in mind.
Therefore, the fool
It's only the truth that we seek to find.
violates the principle of non-contradiction.
There's no end game in mind.
The fool,
It's only the truth that we seek to find.
therefore, the fool is in a self-contradiction. He violates the principle of non-contradiction. He simultaneously says, I have an idea of God, and then I don't have an idea of God.
Everyone must see it for themselves. The truth is there for you to find.
Think about it.
Think about it. Yeah, I love that video. That's a good one, that. I didn't get a chance to pull my tea bag out my cup. I nearly got the brews finished and everything. So the idea of when we came here, where I came in all of this, somebody challenged me to be able to prove something. And we have been asking quite a lot of people within this entire arena about proof. And there is a lot of talk of proof. Can you prove this? Can you prove this to me? And I don't know what the answer is for other people. But the answer from me is definitely, yeah, I have. I've proved quite a lot to myself. And I think I can help people prove things for themselves too. But that requires conversation, and honest conversation. Hopefully that's what's to come. But we can't have honest conversation if people are obsessed with models, particularly models that aren't real.
I guess now is as good as time as any to start.
Yeah.
Because both J-Row and Paper Organist both have questions of or comments about this proof I posted earlier, so I think it's worth addressing.
Okay. What have we got? They just the short one, the white.
Well, no, I guess the whole thing needs to be posted.
Which one do you want then? The lady. I don't know whether you can see that. Okay.
And the way I've thought of this is first to define the vertical as the straight line perpendicular to horizontal as the geometric relationship, right? And then plumb being the straight line perpendicular to level, to then relate it straight into reality practically. And then just simply understanding the vertical is a straight line established by the plumb bob, then vertical has to be plumb. That understanding there lets you then, beneath this line here where the actual argument comes, since vertical is plumb, then you can say vertical is perpendicular both to horizontal and to level, which in turn will show you that horizontal is equal to level. They have to be the same. So to paper that, my point is that those lines at the top, that's more or less just definitions involved, I would say. And then I list axiom 1 as well, because that is the axiom used within the argument at the bottom. But I do understand what you're saying. I've done this on purpose for that reason. And yeah, J-Ro, you understand what I'm saying now with using vertical on both sides of the equal sign. You can see it forms a square even, vertical with the equals on the sides and the perpendiculars up and down, and then other equal signs at the bottom. It's perfect. But yeah, it's not like for paper's sake. The lines at the top are the understanding of the identity laid out, and then using that understanding to form the argument at the bottom. That's the way I did this. And then all of the, law of identity, law of non-contradiction, included middle and double negation, well, excluded middle. Yeah, I did that just to have a visual representation of this, just to make it sort of meme worthy, that you could put it out there and like get attention with it, nothing more.
I would say that this is as I saw that couple months ago. It was for me always the third line, this vertical P equals plumb line P. This is not part of syllogism, because in that sentence you are stating that P is P. So this is not sentence. Sentence is subject and object, so subject and predication. So stating that P is P is not statement, because you are predicating that P is P. So this is full tautology. So it cannot be used as an argument.
No, which is why I'm saying it's only there for the definitional understandings of the geometric relationship of the two and the actual practical tools that you use to establish both in reality. That's all it's used for. It's not.
Yes, but that's why I use that the second line, because this is predication. You are predicating upon vertical. So you are predicating that vertical is established by plumb bob. And that's why you can say in the third line that vertical equals plumb line. So you are proving that vertical and plumb line are the same. And
Yes,
second sentence. So second sentence can be used as premise, because
yeah, somebody needs to be fed with a tablespoon, so I had to do it.
So we have in first sentence we have subject vertical, and predication is a straight line, so has certain relationship with horizontal. So we are predicating upon vertical that is perpendicular to horizontal. This is our first premise. And we have subject, vertical, and predication, perpendicularity to horizontal. And we have, in second premise, we have to have link with first premise. We can have that with subject or predication. In second sentence, we have the same subject. So the link with first premise would be subject. So we have vertical. And in third, in conclusion, because I am omitting this third line because it is the same as the second. So we can omit. It is not part of syllogism because still you need only two premises and so two sentences and conclusion. So in conclusion, you are saying that plumb is a straight line, so that would be vertical because you established in the second premise that vertical is a plumb bob. So instead of vertical, we have plumb bob, but to be good syllogism, it has to be not level but horizontal, because the link between first premise and conclusion should be that you are establishing link between the syllogism is called syllogism because all three sentences has to be linked. And when you put level, which is a new word in syllogism, it is coming from nowhere here.
I completely agree and understand what you're saying, but this isn't an argument. These are two definitions. The first and fourth line are literally two definitions. So if you just move that plumb is a straight line perpendicular to level to the top and treat it as such, not as an argument, or in this case, the conclusion to an argument, then I hope you'll understand what I mean. That's why I've done it this way. I may have ordered it wrong to sow some confusion, so that's good. But like I said, plumb being a straight line perpendicular to level is how it's definitionally, or how it's used definitionally.
Yes.
So I'm just stating it as a definition.
Absolutely, I agree. But that's why I wrote what I wrote in chat, because to create syllogism, there are strict rules, and that kind of proof would be demonstration. So this is this QED, quod erat demonstrandum, what was to be demonstrated or proved, what was to be proved. Creating syllogism would require to change level to horizontal, obligatory.
Definitely, yes.
But still, it doesn't mean that you cannot prove that level is horizontal. I am thinking right now about that, how to create syllogism to prove within syllogism, even tautological syllogism, that horizontal is level. Because we have this example from Wiki that all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. This is syllogism, very, very correct, very true, but it is tautological. But still, having tautology, you can create a syllogism. But I am in process of thinking how to create syllogism, another syllogism for horizontal being level.
Up in it. I think it's a challenge. It's good.
Yeah, yes, it is challenge because this is so obvious that the more obvious thing is, the harder to prove it. For example, axioms cannot be proved. So how can you prove that greater is greater than smaller, or the part is smaller than the whole?
Well, equals being equal, right? That's
Yeah,
that's something that you can, like Saragaki's done there. But there, it only really needs definitional wise, right, for them to be equal, doesn't it? For that particular type of, it's a transitive law, isn't it? So you're transferring the equalness of the things to something. It's a slightly different type of. I don't know whether it needs to be a syllogism necessarily.
I would say that I would refer. I'm just trying to create that syllogism, and I think that good way to prove that horizontal is level, because you can have same predication, and this predication would be orientation.
Yeah, I did I did a similar one, didn't I, with equal elevation.
Equal elevation,
Yeah.
yes. So that would be one, and the second would be just orientation. If someone could prove that horizontal and level have same orientation.
Yeah. Well, that was the idea, right, of the first realizing Euclid, to prove that no part of a straight line can lie within a plane and another part without it, right? So you're doing the straight line, it being an equal elevation, therefore it being no slope. So within that first proposition of book 11, dependent on the tools that you use to prove that, you can incorporate level, it having no slope, to be the straight line. Right? So there is a way for you to link the reality to the syllogisms, or to the argument, the reasoning process that allows you to reason the straight line.
Yes, because, for example, like Jesse Kozłowski claim was that level drops from horizontal. That would mean that level cannot be horizontal.
Yes.
But if there is a proof that level does not drop or deviate from horizontal, that would be proof that level is horizontal. But I am searching for how to create syllogism in that manner. Well, it is very hard for me because you have to have 3 sentences and well-organized subjects and predications. And with tautology, it is in that example is hard for me. But I will think about that, how to create a syllogism upon horizontal and level. It will take some time, or maybe it will take some click, because my processing powers are such that sometimes I'm just going to bed and I don't know anything about that, and I am waking up and trying to think and click, and I have it. So it is unpredictable sometimes.
Well, we was thinking about a way for, in order for us to present these, obviously, vertical and horizontal, although they are there at the beginning right? Because they're always relevant and one leads to the other. They're perpendicular. You could literally start off with either of them. For the idea of the argument, I was thinking, for starters, you would really want to start off with modus ponens for presenting logical arguments. The first one would obviously have to be modus ponens, I think. Although the transitive law of equality seems more relevant, it being axiom 1, think a modus ponens myself would be the way I would like to present. If I was presenting logic and logical arguments, I think I would like to start off with modus ponens, because that is a positive statement, right? You can definitely say to people, look, if this, then this, and then you say, look, here's how you confirm this. So therefore, this is a natural consequence of the if statement at the beginning being true.
Yes, that's correct. But in modus ponens, you have to have implication, real implication. Because in that example, that if P then Q, implication is assumed. But if we are doing modus ponens is generally for reality.
Yeah.
So it has to be established that antecedent consequent relationship is already there. So the burden of proof is on you to prove that there is antecedent and consequent relationship, or it is self-evident, like common notion, for example. But it has to be that way. It cannot be just on the fly to imagine that there is a relationship or causality between P and Q because we need that to produce some kind of modus ponens. So this relationship has to be there. So antecedent and consequent of that antecedent, and that consequent has to be inevitable implication, not just implication that may occur or may not occur. It has to occur. Then you have modus ponens. It has to, if I do this, that would happen for sure. Not may happen or may not happen. It has to happen for sure. This is what modus ponens is, and modus ponens also in reverse manner.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the notion of the non sequitur from as well, right? If the implication, as you're talking about, paper, if it's not actually present in the syllogism, then it's classified as a fallacy, as a non sequitur, because your conclusion doesn't follow at that point.
Yes, even if it may follow, but not necessarily, it is still non sequitur, because it has to follow. So there is no other option, because if there is some other option for implication, it means that we are not using a principle of excluded middle. Therefore, our conclusion is inconclusive, because still we have to deal with other option. So inconclusive modus ponens is poorly created modus ponens.
Yeah. So for starting off, to be able to show people a logical argument, to be able to show the antecedent consequent relationship and how you must mind your P's and Q's is easily explained with the modus ponens, right? And then to contrast that straight away, you explain the modus tollens, which is based upon the same idea, except you are falsifying the consequent, rather than affirming the antecedent. And to be able to explain that, I think, would then, and obviously you can also explain that it can't be for the same argument. You can't have the same P and Q having both a modus ponens and a modus tollens, because that would be contradictory. So you have to, you choose a different argument for the explanation of the modus tollens.
You can have the same, because many times we are dealing with particular, let's say, phenomenon. So, for example, if we are, we know that if we are putting kettle on fireplace, the water will boil, and if we are denying, for example, that water didn't boil, therefore heating kettle does not cause water boiling. That would be false. It means only that in that case, we didn't put a kettle on the fireplace. So we are referring to a specific or particular example of doing something or not doing something, because the water will boil if heated, of course, always. So we can create modus ponens like if heat, then water boiling in the kettle. But we have to check if that kettle was on fireplace. And if it wasn't, therefore, there is no boiling water.
Yeah, but surely if you put the kettle on the fire, like that would be in the if, wouldn't it? The statement, you'd be minding your P's and Q's.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you get the correct minding your P's and Q's, and you come up with a modus ponens for that statement, you can't then say, right, well, we'll use the same statement, except this time we'll show how the result's false. Because if you've already got a modus ponens for that particular argument, you can't have a modus tollens for the same argument, because that would be falsifying something that you've already proved.
Yeah, but modus ponens is for general. So if we have this heat and fireplace and kettle, if you put on fireplace, the water will start to boil because it has to do that, because fire cannot stop to heat the water, because this is nature of fire. It has to heat. But if you are for example, saying that the water is not boiling, it means that there is no heat, that you didn't switch on the fireplace.
Yeah, so that's about the forming of the argument. Particularly, I'm thinking of 5 arguments that we've got. And our modus ponens would be that if all horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon, right? Using that example in particular, the one that I'm thinking of, for us to demonstrate a modus ponens, then I would say you cannot find a black swan for it. It's impossible, because it's already been proved to be true. So in the fact of our modus ponens, the one that we've made up, right, to explain the modus ponens that we're talking about, we're not talking about a vague argument made up for kettles. We're talking about if all horizontal. So the all statement was gone in there to show exactly how you do a modus ponens, because it offers it up. It says all you need is one to falsify the entire argument.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Yeah, because
you've done the argument,
you have to falsify premise. Yes, you have to, in order to falsify this premise, all horizontals, you have to demonstrate one. or in fact, you have to demonstrate two, because you have to demonstrate one, and the second, which would be not parallel. So in fact, you have to demonstrate pair of horizontals being divergent. You cannot just show one, because this one has to be in relationship to other. So you are stating in this modus ponens that they have, all horizontals have this relationship. So in order to have one not horizontal being not parallel to other horizontals, you need to find pair. So one and the second would be not parallel to that one. In fact, you have to find two of them, not one.
It
Yeah.
sounds so ridiculous considering it would be a blatant law of identity violation at the face of it. So it's, I mean, I'm following your paper, but it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the idea is for us to show people that we have made these arguments and we have refined them to the point that they are opened up for the possibility. If you want to falsify them, then they're made simple enough that you should be able to, do your worst with them, right? The idea that when we started this with the mind your P's and Q's, with the logic run, and we noticed that somebody else was making an argument that wasn't quite accurate, and the problem that made with arguments is that, you know, if you don't form your argument correctly, then it might sound like a logical statement, but if something doesn't ring true with it, then the chances are there's a fault, because real arguments should be perfect. There should be no flaws. They should be worked through. The idea of an argument, a true argument, is for you to discuss it and perfect it. It's not for shouting at people, really, and trying to shove your balls down people's throats or anything like that. It's literally just for you to refine the argument, correct your P's and your Q's, get your form correct, get all the identities of everything correct, and then the argument is a true one.
Yes, and I would say that this argument you provided is, as they say, Bloom-Rubble science and flat earth math, that it is practically impossible. Bloom-Rubble science is providing imaginary example, let's say one horizontal established in London and the other one, I can't remember where it was, let's say in Johannesburg, somewhere in South Africa.
Yeah.
So the problem is that, as I said, you have to compare them. And you cannot compare them. You cannot check if they are parallel to each other or not, because you cannot be at the same time in two locations. And talking with a cell phone with friend in South Africa or whatever will not make this comparison for you. So it is just physically and theoretically impossible to compare two horizontals at different locations. Therefore, you cannot falsify your statement. It is impossible, and they know that.
Yeah. So they ask you to prove ridiculous things when they're not really related to the statement.
They are trying to force opponent to make that falsifying test, which is impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, rather than them trying to go for making their own proof or actually proving it wrong, they're asking people to try and prove it wrong for them. It's some sort of a subversal type thing.
Yeah, yes, the reverse of burden of proof. Yeah. So, but there is this statement is so far unfalsifiable, because you cannot do that. So this modulus ponens holds still, because you cannot provide, it is physically and practically and theoretically impossible to provide black swan for that modus ponens. So it is perfectly safe for now.
So what we do is we go from there to show people that there is a way to falsify it, right? You can set up an argument particularly to falsify something, and you falsify a natural consequent of the antecedent, right? So you start off with your if and you have a then, but the idea of this modus tollens is to falsify the consequent. You say this doesn't happen, which then in turn falsifies the P. Right now, this is where I'm having a little bit of an idea as to, I'm a bit hesitant, right? That you would normally start, well, you would definitely start off with the modus ponens and then go to the modus tollens. But as everyone knows, I don't know, everyone knows, our modus tollens is the one that brings in the level, a water level. And it's the argument that we started off with, really, which was when QE made his the argument that he calls a black swan. We said initially that argument isn't a true logical argument because it's been left unrefined. That you could continue to simplify it. There were problems within the argument, within the form of the argument, the way he did it, that left gaps, the ability for circular arguments, which we said you'd be better off just trying to simplify it a bit more. But because people seem to have this aversion for level being horizontal, that they didn't want to go down that path for the thing that could obviously be proved, which is the what people always say, can you prove that? Well, if you set up a modus tollens where the conclusion is that a water level is a tool for establishing a horizontal plane, then surely the natural conclusion from that would be, well, can you prove it? And you do know what argument we're talking about, right? The modus tollens. The call it a black swan, but I mean it's not a black swan, it's just a modus tollens.
I can recite it for you if you want.
Go on, have a go. See how good you do.
If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then all horizon distances. Oh, I'm losing it. Hang on. I had it. I was there. Then every distance to the horizon can be no more than 1.22 miles from the height of the observer. Something like that. Fuck, I thought I had it up bang on. Give me a second. I'm going to try it again.
No, it was in first if the Earth is a sphere with radius with something, with this number.
3,959 miles.
Yeah, then distance to horizon at given...
Can be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I just recited that properly. I'm pretty sure
But
that no baller will
that's
recite
the
that.
broken one, isn't it? I think
Well,
I got a baller to recite it. There we go. There. In the,
Okay, but I
in the
said
live
it.
chat.
I did do it right.
So it's flawed in many places. Because he's got horizon distance measurements. There's no such thing. Nobody's ever done a horizon distance measurement.
Yeah, there is.
It's fucking
there
ridiculous.
is no distance measurement of any horizon.
No, but he's put it in there. If then he's got it in the then, and like you can't be. Can you?
No,
You can falsify it by not being able to do it.
no. I have to defend that in conditional statement. Conditional is assumed to be true. So if the Earth is a sphere, so if the Earth being sphere with that radius is real, then the consequent of that would be, and this is correct consequent. This is correct consequent.
Only if you can measure it, right? You can't. If you can't perform.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Test.
I am talking about modus tollens. So the relationship between condition being antecedent and consequent is good here, because this is consequence of a spherical Earth that you have this bulge or whatever, and beyond that you cannot see because everything is dropping from the hump. So this is physical obstacle. This is, they call it geometrical horizon. I would say that would be replace for true horizon. That horizon, yeah, I would say that would be a topographical horizon or topographic horizon.
Well, yeah,
So
but it's an impossible consequent, isn't it? Because you're saying that there's going to be a hump there, but it's got to be dropping at the same time, which necessitates there's no hump.
No, because if this is 5, if you have, you are above horizon, so it is drop in 2 directions. So you are not looking from horizon line. This is I would say
Again,
misunderstanding of Robotham, because if
but
you are above,
it's a mind your P's and Q's, right? The necessary form might be good, but the P's and Q's haven't been minded, right? Because you've put an impossibility there. You cannot have a horizon distance measurement in reality.
Case, yes, but in that case, that would be possible. This is a strength of modus ponens or any conditional. If you are assuming antecedent to be true, then inevitable consequence has to be true. So you cannot create modus ponens assuming that consequent would be irrational, because it would be non sequitur. In this example, if we have this antecedent that Earth is a sphere with radius, etc., this consequent is true.
Yeah, but that's been made up, hasn't it? To go along with a narrative.
Yes, it is begging the question. Yes, so you are begging the question, and inside this begging the question, you have to be correct. You have your antecedents and consequence. That's why you can argue with Globers within their model.
I don't think you can, because this isn't their model. This is the model that's been given to them by the flat earthers, isn't it?
Okay, I can agree with that. This is no problem for me. I am talking just about modus ponens.
Is modus tollens.
Modus tollens, yes. But the consequence would be of that. So if the Earth is a sphere with radius, etc., it is the consequence of that Earth being as such. So this measurement, because you can measure geometrically or arithmetically, you can measure. We know that this is not real, but it doesn't matter in modus ponens if we are assuming that the antecedent is real. So that's why in order to dismiss that this is not real, you have to dismiss this measurement. That's why this is how modus tollens is working. But the conclusion is wrong in this modus tollens. Because
well, that's what I said. When we saw this, we thought, right, there's multiple problems. Right? It's not a viable argument and it's not usable. Right? Because for one, you can't falsify the Q. They can't prove it either, because it's got a statement in it that cannot be done. It's an impossible procedure built in. Now, whether that be wait a minute. If that was a sphere, then you would be able to do it. Then you should just have that as your argument. You should be able to measure to the horizon. That's it.
Yeah, the distance to the horizon. No one's ever done that.
Would be measurable, right? That's if the Earth was a globe and this happens, then you would be able to measure to the horizon, which you can't. Therefore, you know, it's a different argument, but it's definitely a more realistic argument for people to be able to get into.
Yes, but again, this and every conditional assumes that if antecedent is true, the consequent is true. It means that in that model, which is impossible model, in that model, that would be possible.
Which is why, right, in the way we present arguments to advance simplicity, which is what I said to the group of people that made this particular argument. I said, it's not finished, it's not refined, and it's not been made as simple as possible. The simpler version is, if the Earth is a spherical object, P, then the surface of liquid water must curve, Q.
Yes, that would be, yeah.
It's a much simpler, much easier explanation of something for somebody to be able to check for themselves. And it goes along with the theme of horizontal and level.
Yes,
that
I agree.
we're going along with.
Yeah,
but
how do you...
go on.
Wait, one sec, paper, please. How do you apply a picture to that argument?
You don't need to apply a picture to the argument.
They have their magic photo.
Well, you don't need to apply. If you get the argument correct, then the argument works for itself, and it puts it into the hands of people to, you know, what if the Earth is a spherical object, then the surface of liquid water must curve. It's a natural consequence. It has to curve. Yet a water level is a tool for establishing a horizontal plane. Right, therefore, not Q.
Yeah.
Right, so they are then, should be, forced into the fact of proving that a water level isn't a tool. that applies horizontal, right? But still, they can't do that, but we can still prove that level is horizontal. Many, many different ways, which is the idea of this set of arguments.
You know, your modus tollens you just listed is basically a black swan in the formulation of it, because you didn't specifically state that the water has to be at rest, which isn't necessary, of course, but showing, since you said must curve, showing that it doesn't in this case, water level, is showing the black swan.
For that statement, that's the idea of,
Yeah.
yeah. It's because it's a must, isn't it? It's like an all statement within the modus ponens. All you
Yes.
have to prove is that that doesn't occur at some point. Then
Yes.
you've applied your black swan, which is an ideal way to show people the progression of simple argumentation and how easy it is for you to be able to apply these arguments. Now, there are obviously, we've found, there are people that disagree with those. But what do you do with that? You know, what sort of situation? How widespread is people that are going to argue against those two basic modus ponens, modus tollens? And we've got more arguments to go together. They all support each other, don't they? All of the arguments that we can come up with that are just as simple as this, that all work together. If we can get 5 arguments together that all work around the same theme, then how can you deny that? You can't just go around saying, well, straight isn't straight. Which I think should be the idea of everybody within this arena. But people don't want it. That's why we're left here on our own, wondering, you know, what's going on? Like, how strange an arena is it? Where the simplicity seems so simple, yet there are people willing to argue. I don't know, like Rumpus said, he'd be willing to argue that a horizontal, the concept of a horizontal plane isn't a good one. Well, whatever that means. It's just pure obfuscation, surely.
Yeah, because plane, you can imagine plane, and you can imagine plane in horizontal orientation. So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that they have a dogmatic model that leads them to say things, right? But they can't be big and bold enough to come out and say these things for themselves, which I think is the idea, the purpose of our arguments, is to draw out the things that these blue marble scientists actually want to say. They want to tell people about their stuff that has to be. And it's our job to let everybody know. Because we have got simple arguments, but every one of these simple arguments don't fit in with modern day new mathematics and science. Has to be a globe, no matter what. But I'd say that level being horizontal, it just has to get incorporated into your globe. If somebody tells you that level isn't horizontal and that straight lines, you can't have perpendiculars, one of the lines vertical, you can't have a horizontal line perpendicular to it. They don't exist anymore. New mathematics says it. Don't know.
Wait a second. Objection. Even Rumpus and Flat Earth Math and Blue Marble Science are agreeing that you can establish horizontal plane, I think, using water level but at midpoint between two ends of water level 2. So you can establish horizontal.
Yeah, have you ever actually worked this out geometrically? Because it's fantastic when you do.
Yes,
You draw a straight line from A to B,
yeah,
and then you find a perpendicular at the midpoint,
yeah.
and then you can say that's horizontal.
This is their way to find horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay, but still it means that you can establish horizontal.
It does mean that the entire line is a horizontal in the first place, doesn't it? The fact that at the midpoint you can have a perpendicular to the line AB.
Yes, but this line AB is straight line because you cannot have perpendicular to curved line. So
Yeah, exactly. So if it's vertical at the center, then the perpendicular to that line is horizontal.
Yeah,
Which
and they
which
say
is the original
that.
line. Yeah, I know.
They admit that. So they just somehow cannot agree that would be at each of ends of this tool. That would be horizontal also, the same horizontal and the same verticals. But still, they have to admit that you can establish horizontal with water level. And that leads me to this, what Sarugaki brought in this argument. That would be, for me, good start to think about syllogism about horizontal being level. Because using even their, let's say, logic for that. But I have to think about that more. But I think that I can produce syllogism to prove that level is horizontal using their objections even to that. But I have to think in peace and quiet, let's say.
Lilith, if you're trying to do the flat shit, it won't work. It's definitely not flat. So, welcome to the real globe. Definitely not flat earthers. If you want to talk to a flat earther, go and have a word with Nathan Oakley. I think he's the flattest earther there is. He even believes mountains are measured flat. We know that it's not flat, obviously. So you can join the crowd of people that want to try and label us, but just make sure you don't label us flat earthers.
Flat, though.
We don't play games with reality because it's definitely not flat.
We also don't play games with the words. We take the words as they are defined. We don't try to redefine them.
Yes. And everyone's entitled to the globe. Nobody wants to take it off anybody. It's just the real globe. You can imagine globe means whatever you want. It does say earth or world as one of the definitions. And it says little e. So, hey, call it what you will. Everybody imagines it. It's only these words only get meaning in your mind for what they are. So, if you want to imagine the globe is a sphere, that's up to you. That's fine. That's jolly good. Now, what we don't expect is for people to be coming and saying, like a religious fervent, you must follow my religion of what I imagine in my mind. That's my idea. Well, I don't. Like I say, I haven't got a model. I don't need a model. particularly don't need a religious model based entirely on faith. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I don't think faith gets forced upon you. Like, you must believe this, otherwise that's not the way faith works. Faith is a voluntary thing that you take on upon yourself. You can't have a forced faith. No matter how many times people have tried to convince me to take upon a model that I just don't need.
Yeah, believe what you want. Just don't feel the need to force your beliefs on other people. And most of us are fine with that. You can have your ball, you can have your fantasy, you can have your curving, bend, straight lines. That's fine. Just don't try to force it on me. That's my belief.
And don't get upset if somebody asks you to sort of prove it. It's no good just saying it. Just, if you can't do that, then don't really come into a conversation where you're trying to force people onto your belief to take on your faith. Say, when I came into this, right, not a little tiny bit religious was I, but I didn't go against religious people. People can take on whatever they want. Anybody can take on whatever they want. I have no model myself, which means I don't particularly have a religion. But that doesn't mean that I have the right to tell other people that they shouldn't have one. I just don't have a model myself. So I always found it strange that people did actually want to try and push these things on other people. Almost like a school teacher or a dictator. Well, I don't think anything like that. I've never thought that that's the best way to learn. So why expect it? You know, people are just people. And in this arena, it is the strangest group of people, that the most faithful I've ever known anyone. And I've known a few religious people, but the globe is the call it a religion. It's the one that people have the most faith for, because they know there's no proof. It's based entirely on faith. It's not a religion. Level being horizontal is a provable fact. There's no belief needed with that sort of thing. In reality, you can prove things. And if you can prove things to yourself, you can know them. You don't need to have faith. You don't build a model around something that you know. There's no need. And it's okay to get upset about, level being horizontal. There's different types of people. Some people never experience the practicality of it. And that's fine. But having a faith, you've got to realize that everything that you have you guys in the chat, it's just faith-based stuff. It's not faith in scientists, say that fact. It's faith in the shadow giants. Because what I've noticed is that people say things when they just don't. The hardest thing is to get a guy that has the dogmatic globe to make a claim about their dogmatic globe. They allow for other people to say, interpret things that they half say. Because it sounds weird. Saying some of the dogmatic things that have to come out of the mouth of a full-on globe faithful person, it's no doubt embarrassing for them. It's easier for them to just keep out the way. You'll find that most people obviously believe that they live on the globe, but they're living on the real globe, the one that comports with reality, not this fantasy globe that these guys live on. They live on the dogmatic globe with fantastic numbers. Contradictions abound. In fact, that's how we prove the dogmatic globe, is by showing the contradictions. There can be no proofs on the dogmatic globe. And if there are no proofs, then there can only be contradictions. Because it doesn't comport with reality. A dogmatic globe cannot comport with reality. Otherwise, it wouldn't be dogmatic. They'd have actual proofs. And they know they haven't.
Hey, Bev,
Yeah.
can I address the chat real quick? Some person named Lilith, whatever that means, thinks that we're denying stuff in the sky.
I'm not really bothered about the stuff.
No,
The sky's the sky.
I get it. The sky's the sky. It's not the ground that we're walking on. People need to get that through their thick skulls, Lilith.
Just leave it. Like, they want to talk about looking at lights in the sky or whatever. That's fair enough.
I am sorry. I don't deny lights in the sky because I can see them.
Yeah.
So I don't deny that. There are lights in the sky, and we call them stars. Okay.
We don't test the globe, right? It's very simple. There are proofs in reality. Those proofs in reality comport to reality. Now, whatever model of the globe you have in your mind, that tests and proofs within reality, you have to put them on that reality model. That's where they go, the proofs. So the proofs in reality will prove the reality globe model that you have. The dogmatic globe, right, can't be proved. Therefore, can be proved by the contradictions. Because there's no contradictions in reality, but by proving the contradiction that must exist within the dogmatic model, you can prove the model dogmatic, i.e. no proof. It does not comport to reality. Simple. And also, you can find a dogmatic globe believer very simply by showing them a contradiction, and they will accept it and say it's not a contradiction. So now it's just a matter of whether people actually can see a contradiction or whether they accept a contradiction. One or the other. And if people aren't clever enough or don't understand logic enough to be able to see a contradiction, a that and not that at the same time, then that may be modern society. I think that's where we have to test. We have to find out how deep the contradictions that people hold actually go. And it's not going to be done within this arena, because I've already found out that there are people that will necessarily, I call it the blue marble scientific method. These people who can dismiss contradictions, obvious contradictions, and then try and gaslight you that they're not contradictions. That's the extreme part of the arena, bunny ears, that we're in. Got vertical. I got vertical on the model. I have vertical in reality. So, does that trump vertical on the model? It's not a battle for people to try and
Was that a
say whose globe's better.
I was going to ask, is that a rhetorical question? Or did you want an answer to that?
Not particularly.
Couldn't get to my button fast enough, sorry.
Yeah, it's not. There's no competition on who's got the best globe. There just is the reality proofs that must comport to the model that you have in your mind, right? You can't come up with a proof in reality and say that doesn't belong on my model. That's ridiculous. That's not science. It's not learning. It's not how you gain knowledge. So the thing is, how do you prove something in reality? That's the only thing you need to know. We'll sell some more real globes. It's just a word, right, that everybody has. They've all seen the models that are everywhere, all over the place. Does your reality proof comport to the model that you imagine? I'd say not. I'd say there are contradictions everywhere. And people have just been taught to not look at them. Compartmentalize them. Put them in this place over here. Make sure they're kept well away from each other. Or make sure that if they're right in front of your face, you do not make the connection between the two.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, so if I say the Earth is flat, but it has hills, mountains, and valleys, isn't that a contradiction?
Absolutely.
It is.
All right, thank you very much. I rest my case.
And by the way, talking about model and reality, this is that's why I like this definition of truth, Aristotelian, that this is accordance or agreement with what we think with what we see. So what we think model, speculation, and what we see reality. And if our thinking, our model is not in agreement with what we see, or we can disprove our model with what we see, it means that we have no true model. This model is not true. It cannot be true because it has to be this link with reality. Without this link, this model is not true. It cannot be.
Can I just point out there's somebody else, a new person coming, Stabby B. He says, globe model works. What has FE knowledge accomplished? Well, if it's just a matter of knowledge, because I don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as flat earth knowledge. It's fucking ridiculous. There is that knowledge available for everyone, or it's just not knowledge, right? There's nothing there. So there's only knowledge available for everyone.
This is a wrong statement. He says that this model works.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to get to that. The globe model. We
What-
don't know
what
what the model is, right?
Whatever model, you can say that model works if is in agreement with reality, because that's your check. If it works in reality, not if it works in your speculation, because in your speculation it can work. In your speculation, for example, reptilians can fly or whatever. This is speculation. It doesn't prove that it works. So it's like saying that my computer game is working well, therefore it is real. It is nonsense.
Yeah, the concept of globe is something that you have in your mind. If you think it works, that means it comports with reality. Therefore,
absolutely,
the model you have is a reality model. Therefore, everything that you can prove in reality must comport with the model that works. No, nobody's disagreeing with that fact, right? And nobody's saying that that is flat earth, because it's not. It's just, it comports with reality, which is what everybody should be aiming to achieve. Now, if you want to call that model globe, capitalize it if you want, call it a big G, right? Then that's fine. If you want to leave it as a little g and pretend, well, and just say that it's the same as everybody else, right? It's whatever you can comport in your mind to reality. That's the globe model that everybody has, I think. I'm not thinking, I'm trying to think that everybody's thinking like me. So if I have a model, and that's a model of reality, and everything in reality comports with the model that I've built, and because that's the model. The model of my reality is everything that I've ever experienced. So of course that works in reality. There's nothing that doesn't. So that's reality model. Call it globe if you want. I have no need for any particular naming of reality other than it's just reality. Other people have a different idea of globe. And like I said at the beginning, I think everybody's been given that within the first 7 years of their life. And it depends how strong that initial impression was. What's happened? How much have you reinforced it? Because it's very hard for people to give up a shape association with it. And I'm sorry, it's just reality. I don't have a model, so I only have reality to go off. People have been upset with me for ages because we're in an arena where people have these models. It's entirely based upon the models that people have in their minds. And the stronger the character that has the model, the more forceful they'll be about how they want to project their model on everyone.
And on everything, because the problem with people, model afflicted people, let's say, is that they are trying to change reality, which is impossible.
Yeah,
to
Lilith,
comfort
can I
comfort
just
the
point
model.
out, Lilith's saying it's literally magic to make Earth being flat a possibility in reality. Like, yes, Lilith, it's not flat. And I don't know where you get magic from. Like, magic doesn't happen. So
But
how
she
could
thinks
you
we're
literally
flatter than-
need magic? Says Lilith, a broken mind.
Yes, you cannot change not flat Earth into flat Earth because you want that.
Yeah, literally use magic. You can't literally have magic. It's a trick. It's a deceit.
And the same with this spherical or spinning ball, let's say.
Yeah, why do you think I'm in here on this panel and not on Nathan Oakley's panel?
I would say that Nathan Oakley's channel is trying to prove everything as flat. And this is annoying part, because they have, of course, good disproofs for this spherical shape model, but it is not proof for flat Earth. But everything they say about disproving, let's say, the globe, they are saying that this is proof of flat Earth, which is not. This is what annoys me the most.
Yeah, they've got this idea that all you have to do is disprove something to set up. Well, first off, you set up a false dichotomy, and then you disprove something that doesn't exist to hopefully prove something that doesn't exist, because you've set up a false dichotomy.
They are not applying a principle of excluded middle. If there is dichotomy only between spherical Earth and flat Earth, that disproval of globe would be proof for flat Earth. But it is not, because this is not true dichotomy. There are many possibilities that Earth is other shape also, not flat, not globe, or whatever. And so they cannot use this principle of excluded middle. That's why this is false dichotomy.
Yeah, because I say that Earth has no shape.
It doesn't have to have a shape, right?
It
That's
does
the
not.
problem.
I agree.
That people fight against something, and we are literally just talking about reality. But within this arena, they've built up this false dichotomy where identities are based around which team you're on. And you can see how bad it is because of the people that come in our chat. I'm pretty sure that most people that come in, you know, they're trying to live in reality. And I don't think they want to get involved in this ridiculous false dichotomy. That's not going anywhere. It's not. There's no chance.
By the way, to know the shape of the object, because if even flat earther or globe earthers are saying that the shape of the Earth, they mean that this Earth is an object. To establish even overall, let's say overall shape of the Earth, you have to be completely outside of it to see it from, let's say, great distance, which is impossible. And then you can say, oh, this Earth I can see is that shape. But nobody can do that. So talking about overall shape of the Earth is completely meaningless. You cannot do that. So it's just pointless. We can only say predicate upon, let's say, local surface of the Earth. And this local surface of the Earth is not flat. Never.
No, and I don't know why people want to keep coming in and imagining that we're part of that thing, right? Like we said, we've been learning, but I've been learning about logic and how to understand how to gain knowledge through the use of logic. And I've been watching people with illogical processes going on. That's particularly what drew me into this particular arena. There are people who are obsessed with the shape of the Earth. Now, me personally, having no model or no need for a model, I consider myself as watching these processes and how people learn and pick up information and how much they're affected by these models that they have. That's been the interesting point for me. I've watched people like wanting me to join either team, trying to get me to slip up to say certain things or whatever, as if all of these words really matter, what people say. And it's just the communication and the how far we're going to progress this. Whether people want to acknowledge reality or whether they want to be living in, I don't know, whatever. Like, just come and have a conversation. There's nothing to be scared of. Like, nobody's going to rip your model away from you. That's yours. You keep that in your mind. I don't want to be affecting people's minds so much and causing people hatred and anger like a lot of people do tend to do. I know that there's a lot of people that are going to get upset at hearing some of the realities that we talk about, these simple arguments. There's people getting angry about a straight line being able to be existing in reality, right? The existence of one particular geometric form used by everybody is upsetting to people. They need to impossible things to happen so they can imagine impossible things are happening. Now that's delusional.
It is delusional. Good day, by the way.
Good day.
Yeah, I would just say that's the quite honestly the blessing that I got personally from going through the trivium, because as paper noted, right, you could only predicate upon that which is local to you, right? Because you need to see it, entertain it, touch it, feel it. The categories that we went through when we went through the trivium and the grammar, all that from the organon, that tells you that what these people in the chat are talking about, both sides, is freaking ridiculous. They're discussing Narnia and what the weather's like on Narnia, because you can't predicate upon it. It's not real. It can't be real. It just isn't. Logically, you can't formulate the grammar necessary to then formulate the logic in your mind to then rhetorically discuss these things. You can't. You try, but you sound freaking ridiculous. All of you, both sides, sorry to say. I mean, we had somebody in was it yesterday? Yesterday? I think it was yesterday, right? That you'd have to say is on the flat earth side. Still same thing. There are no straight lines in reality.
No, it was that's Flat Earth Society, that.
Flat Earth Society, yeah. For sure. For sure.
When it's hard to tell, definitely Flat Earth Society.
Definitely. But still, no straight lines in reality, right?
Yeah.
He certainly wouldn't call himself a glober.
Pushing the narrative, right? I did say that's why we had that conversation yesterday, because that's the latest narrative that has to be pushed.
No straight lines in reality. It's amazing. But this is what you give up when you have to have a shape of the thing upon which you stand. But why is that important? Of what importance is that to anyone? Well, I guess for some, psychologically, it's important. It's important to take part in the psyop.
So I don't know. Well,
so that people can be divided again, right?
It's a good question, and I'm guessing that's half of the question that I've been asking is for what purpose? I mean, I don't have a model.
Right.
So I don't have a need to defend anything or get angry. So that's one of the reasons I ask questions, is to wonder why people are affected by their models so much. And Lilith, nobody wants to take away vertical from you. Nobody, don't worry about it. Like, it's all right. It's safe. You can keep that. Nobody wants to take it out of the conversation. Like, vertical is vertical. That's fine. And I'm pretty sure Paige didn't want to take it away from you, or anything. So it's all right. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, right? Don't take gravity away. I mean, you drop a hammer, the hammer drops to the floor. You put helium in a balloon, the balloon goes up. I mean, what's the problem?
Yeah, it's like
It's reality.
it's vertical, right? Everything that you will represent it as is vertical.
Up and down.
So what's the difference? And I'd say there is no difference between
Nope.
gravity and vertical. So just call it vertical and keep it. Nobody wants to take it away from you.
Or call it gravity. Who cares?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
That's right. My goodness.
You call it gravity, I'll just call it vertical. It's the same thing. I think we'll have to agree that it is the same thing. Plumb. Vertical.
Yep. Plumb. Vertical.
Can
up and
I
down.
put my 2 cents in though?
Yes, of course.
As far as gravity goes, like if you look at where the word even came from, it meant weight.
Yes,
Like
that is
how much something
gravitas.
weighs.
Yes.
So that's technically a down.
That is
But-
technically a down.
How about this? Put that scale in water. Like it's because we're in air that everything that is solid will go down.
Well, the argument
vertical.
there, still just vertical, Rob, because the argument there is a
Yeah,
hammer's
no,
still
I
going to go
agree.
down in water, right? I mean, so that's the thing, right? You just if one stays away from those tedious pieces, right, and you just say, yeah, it's vertical, up and down, gravity. Who cares? It's still up and down, vertical, and then horizontal would be perpendicular to vertical or up and down. That's all. And we see it in reality every place we go. Every place you go, if you have a hammer in your hand and you drop that hammer, it's going to fall vertically. Everybody knows this.
Can I just note again, watching the chat, the guy says verticals are impossible on the globe. Well, within our usage of words, right, can we just say, when we say globe, we're talking about people's models of reality.
Mhm.
So you don't really want to say it's impossible because people will say, well, verticals are possible.
Exactly.
And people have a reality that they imagine the globe in. And verticals are there. So for somebody to say verticals are impossible on the globe is just ridiculous. To be telling people that, like if they've been taught from childhood that they live on a globe, then to have somebody come in a chat and say verticals are impossible, that sounds ridiculous to anyone. For anyone to say that verticals are impossible, what does that mean? I would imagine that a lot of people would get offended at that sort of thing, wouldn't they?
Yeah, like
real
working people.
Yeah,
like real working people that can establish a vertical with a plumb line, and they go, "Wait a minute,
that sounds
Right?
ridiculous. Look, there's a vertical here. What do you mean
Exactly.
they're impossible?
Come on now."
Yeah.
So if you need to make a distinction, and this is again gets people upset and it gets them triggered, but this is why you may have heard Bev talk about the dogmatic globe. Well, that's the construction of someone's mind, right? We talk about the real globe, whatever that is to you.
Well, how about if you tell them in their dogmatic globe, verticals are all orientations? What would they think about that?
Vertical can be every orientation.
Yes.
I think what we've got to be careful of, right? Because, like I say, we're moving out of this arena. You can't be focused on the people in this arena and the arguments that you've prepared for this arena, we've now got to think about reality, right? People in reality, how to communicate with those people. So they understand vertical as being vertical. Like, you don't need to imagine it as anything different, or telling anybody to imagine it as anything different.
Well, I was commenting on the dogmatic globe that Kevin was talking about.
Yeah. Well, that dogmatic globe in this experience is the one that Level Head's talking about. You know, he's saying it's impossible on that, but he's not putting it's a dogmatic globe. He's just saying it's impossible on the globe. There's got to be a differentiation between the two, hasn't there?
Yes.
Holy dichotomies, Batman.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because there has to be able to be straight lines in reality, right? A vertical is a straight line.
Up until recently, yeah, that was the sanctity of
right.
straight lines. But
yeah, normality. Yeah,
the other day,
everybody could agree on that, right? Up until the other day.
Yeah,
everybody could agree. Yes, that's the one thing we all agree on. Plumb is a straight line in vertical. Yes, everybody. Yes.
Yesterday, 4 years on, now there's no straight
Nope.
lines.
Nope.
In
Sorry.
fact, Rumpus started it the other day over at Blues, didn't he? He tried it with the vertical. They were trying to. He went, actually.
When he was going after Charles after Flat Earth Math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The local verticals affect it in a way that it makes it not straight, apparently.
But didn't he agree that the line on a plumb bob is straight? I remember, was it me that asked him? And he said yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but there is a technical, right, on the dogmatic globe, because of all of the bullshit they've done. There is a technical. It's not actually.
So I got a yellow card there.
Well, it's one of those ones that where they like if you know that you're talking to a dogmatic glober, then be prepared to know that when he says straight, he might not be meaning actual straight, the Euclidean straight that you're thinking of. That's the situation that we're in as far as the dogmatic globe goes. And I'd say as soon as you get that far, then you're ready for a nut-sacking. Because you shouldn't be bending straight lines.
We got to debate straight from the get-go, then commence in the conversation.
Yeah, you have to prove how you can have straight to somebody who can't have a proof of anything. It's a really weird situation. That's why I'm saying you were best off trying to think how to talk to normal people, because normal people aren't going to want to get into those conversations where perhaps vertical isn't straight, and that just sounds crazy. You sound as bad as like the flat earthers or the globe earthers, or like a flat earth globe earth argument. You don't ever want to be trying to explain to normal people either model and then trying to give the contradictions of each model to somebody who isn't. They just think you're mad.
Oh yeah, you just talk to them about reality. Yeah. You tell them these things, half of these things, they'll think you're missing a straitjacket. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Smash says that Plum works using gravity. It uses
gravity.
It uses it up, yeah. It's like a fuel source.
But they can't even define. Anyways, we won't get into that because that's just not going to work.
But these are the arguments that have been come up that people need to argue against, right? More often than not, it's a stupid claim made by someone that then causes a conversation. But that conversation, again, can be just as ridiculous as the initial statement.
You see, it's a double-edged sword. The conversation requires just nonsensical things to be discussed, like fantasy, you know? So, yeah, it's like, it just,
We've got a guy, Levelhead, says vertical and horizontals are the best. FE proof. We just need to sort out the diagonals. Like, how can a vertical be a proof of flat? Doesn't make any sense. Which is why I think the contradictions have been given to people, or the allowance of the people to have these contradictions. How
yeah,
can
let me just
anything
say
involved
something.
in a vertical change be flat?
Yeah. Flat, let me just say something. Flat is not a shape, number one. Number two, the only way that you can identify shape is if you view it as a whole. Therefore, any talk about shape, about the earth, is nonsensical. It's as simple as that.
Well said, Montreal. Well said. Thank you.
But it doesn't have to be said, it's obvious. Have you ever identified something's shape? Think about it, without seeing it as a whole. Just think about that statement.
You have to measure it. You have to have the ability to measure for shape.
Yeah.
You have to mathematically identify it.
Yes, from end to end.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have to have the whole. That's what I said before.
Yes. There's no way around that statement. You cannot go against that. There's no way around it.
Because if you know only part of this, you still don't know what the overall shape is.
Correct. You need to see the whole to claim shape. I mean, that doesn't need to be said. I mean, a kindergarten kid could understand triangle goes in triangle shape, square goes in square shape, right? I mean, come on, man.
The same with geometrical figures. For example, if we have a square, but if you can see only one corner of the square, so two lines intersecting in right angle, you cannot say even if it is a triangle, because you cannot see the diagonal. You can see only two lines intersecting. So you cannot say that this is square. You cannot say that this is triangle. You cannot say anything.
Yeah. Going back to Bev's point, this does not need to be explained to a normal person, right? It just doesn't. It's common sense. Only the people in this quote unquote arena make these absurd statements.
Yeah, ridiculous claims in order to make something into some sort of an argument, or to give credibility to an argument that there isn't any need for. And anybody looking in from the outside, all they hear is people saying really basic things to people who are arguing. Now, when people listen to that, which side do they think the most sense comes from? Whenever people hear an argument going on about the shape of the earth, and they hear somebody making sense, and they hear somebody saying some stupid shit, which way round do they think it is?
Well, we know. I mean, the logical person will know right away, and that's our only hope. In this particular arena. Yeah, that's our only hope, is normal people listening to the nonsense that these people tell us. Yeah.
But in order to do that, right, to get that people to hear that, you've not got to entertain a conversation about nonsense. You cannot be the one entertaining conversations about nonsense. You can't be speaking these nonsense statements, I don't think.
Yeah, agreed, which is very hard to do when you get into a conversation with them.
Everybody's been trained within this arena to have these conversations, right? All of the arguments that everybody's been trained to have are to incorporate that idea so they can do a reversal.
I would say
Yep,
that there
yep.
is one reason where you can go into that nonsense with your opponent in discussion to make reductio ad absurdum.
Yeah.
It is even required. You have to go with him, with his process, logical process, and then you can lead him into.
But you can't be the
end.
one, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't be the one that is stating those nonsense facts. You can't be the one interpreting whatever they're saying, right? You've got to let them say it.
Yeah, like I'll give you an example. Today I was talking to somebody about water, and they brought in shape. We're talking about water, and they said, well, my proof is the moon proves the shape's Earth. the shape of the Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that just a little while ago in the YouTube chat. Someone said the same thing.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep. And, other nonsense like dig down far enough and you dig up. Someone actually wrote those words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm like, but I wasn't talking about the moon. And they're like, yeah, but that's my number one proof. You can't take my number one proof away from me.
Yeah, this idea that you're going to take something away. It's like, so we're simply talking about proofs in reality. If you want to live a faith and just have faith in what you call globe or have a faith in what you call flat earth that you cannot prove, it's a faith. That's what a faith is, guys. That's what a religion is. By definition, you cannot prove it. Therefore, it is a faith. Fine. That's your faith. We have a term for that. It's called the monad. Look into it because that's your faith, is the monad.
The all-encompassing point at the center of everything.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, that monad, that faith, that religion works for both sides of this stupid shape of the earth argument. If you think that's only for the globers, you got another thing coming. Because Bev's got a little test for you on north, south, east, west if you'd like to take it.
Oh, that's a doozy. That I tried that a bit. That's a killer.
That's the one that exposes the false dichotomy.
Yep.
Right? As a false dichotomy.
Yep.
That's the purpose of those sort of tests.
That's an amazing test.
Yeah.
See how well you do on that test. See where your mind is at psychologically. If you can actually predicate upon something. Let's see how that works for you with a north, south, east, west test. Come on into Discord. Bev will run it through with you.
If I had the time right now, I would like to get into that because you hold a compass and you're standing at a point. Yes, they're perpendicular straight lines, but what governs the east and west?
They're perpendicular. They're just cardinal
Only when you're standing still.
I have to be on the azimuthal plane as well.
Mm-hmm.
When does east become west?
Yes, azimuthal plane, I agree, but still east and west, as I said, in my language, it is just rise and set. And it means sunrise and sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that this direction is described rather as a circle. If we are moving, or if sun is moving, so the path of the sun describes east and west. But of course, if we have these points of sunset and sunrise, you can make straight line from sunset to sunrise. Of course, I don't deny it. And this straight line between sunset and sunrise is perpendicular to direction of north star. So geographically, it works, but at where you are. So I have no problem with that. And in maps, it works also, I would say. But saying that latitude lines are
Nobody's
therefore
mentioned latitude lines.
Nope.
No?
That's the
Okay.
model comes in automatically, doesn't it?
No,
Like
no,
the latitude lines.
for me, like equator. Equator line is 0 latitude, yes, or something like that. It means for equator is, as I know, is the path of the sun at equinox. This is what equator is. Same for tropics. Tropic of Cancer, this most, let's say, closest to North Star path, circle, and far, this is at the south, this Capricorn.
That's the contradiction. We've got a level-headed in there as well. Level head.
Mm-hmm.
East west are just circles. Well,
Yep.
They're perpendicular to north south in everybody else's mind. So
Correct.
if you're model afflicted, then you turn them into circles. You've got to admit that.
I am not turning north.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying in the chat now, there's a guy that said east-west are just circles. They're just circles. Well, east-west is a straight line that's perpendicular to north-south, to me.
And for me also. I don't deny that.
Well, certain people, that's the problem. Certain people turn straight lines
into circles.
Into circles, yeah.
But hang on, can I again? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a contrarian, but the east and west are dictated by the compass, right?
The cardinal directions, perpendicular.
But they're governed by the compass.
The magnetism governs the compass.
Yes.
Wherever the magnetism,
so that magnetism has a source.
That says nothing about the Earth. It doesn't say anything about the shape of the Earth.
I know. But if I'm walking on Earth and I just walk in a straight line, right? If it's even possible to walk in a straight line for 1,000 kilometers, would my compass bearing change?
I don't know.
No.
I know that's what I'm getting at. I realize that
that's
on
the idea of the question.
It's a perpendicular line.
Yeah, that's the.
I get that.
That is the
I'm
idea
just saying,
of the
I don't
question.
Yep, you're still dealing with cardinal directions and perpendicular, Rob.
Yeah, and that is only cardinal in your position that you're standing at that moment because you're looking at the compass with the cardinal directions on.
Rob, the point is, right, that they are considered straight lines that are perpendicular to each other. Now, it's only because you have a model in your mind that's making you try to justify the model that you have in your mind with the idea of east-west, north and south being straight lines. There's something, something's telling you, right, that it's affecting your understanding of those straight lines. That's what we're talking about here. I mean, it's okay because a lot of people do it, but in order for you to do that, you have to have made contact with a model, because not normally people wouldn't do that.
I am not contacting with model because I take my take on with that issue, let's say, is geographical. So I have North Star, path of the sun, and this is what governs my understanding of that kind of directions, like east, west, and north, south. So that's me that's why I agree with Rob with that, but I am not inferring model from that, because path of the sun is path of the sun. It has nothing to do with shape of the earth. So
yeah,
but
the idea of that is, though, right, to point out that there is people who develop one circle or two circles or no circles. That there's a third path within this, and that's people that don't sphericalize either north and south and east and west, which I would consider myself with, still as somebody that never had a model. So although you look at a compass and see a circular device, the north, south, east and west are two straight lines perpendicular to each other. It never occurred to me that either of those lines would ever be spherical.
Of course.
But when you come into an arena like this, you realize there are people that want to sphericalize,
One or both of them.
circularize any one of those two lines.
Mhm. Yep.
Yes, I agree. Yes, of course. They do that. But
And you
even
know
if
when that I'm sorry, paper finish.
if I am saying that this path of the sun is a circle, I am not sphericalizing that, because it has nothing to do with a sphere. And of course, line from north star to my position is straight line. So for me, this is just a circle, not sphere. This is that's why I am talking about longitude and latitude lines.
Still a circle though, in your mind.
Circle, but this path of the sun. So
There you go.
so
Still a circle. So here's when I let go of my circles. When I let go of my circles was the realization that all I'm looking at, I'm not looking at the path of the sun, because to me, the path of the sun to me is not circular. It's just does the sun just does what the sun does. Yes, the sun seems to go is somewhere further away from me in wintertime, closer in the summertime, and based on where I live, based on the geography. As far as the north, south, east, west goes from a compass perspective, I have a car that has a compass built into the mirror. And unbeknownst to me, at some point there was a magnet that was on a lanyard that I had around that mirror. And so it was all jacked up, as you well can imagine, right? It wasn't telling me what direction I was going in because it was sensing the magnet as north. So everything was dependent upon that magnet in that car. That's when I said, "Oh, I've been thinking about this all wrong. Been thinking about it all wrong. I've been in my own mind creating a model that I didn't have to create because north, south, east, west are just perpendicular. That's it. So I have 0 circles. But then again, I try very hard to drop every model that I can possibly drop and not assume that I know everything about the realm in which we live. And I'm okay. Epohe.
Oh, I
Epohe.
like that. I'm okay.
I'm okay. Epohe. Yeah.
if I may, to answer Sarugaki objection, that he says that sunset slash rise being what defines east-west doesn't work. So I can only respond that in my language, native language, there is only one word for east. It is sunrise, and for west is sunset. There are no other words for that. They are official and they mean the same. So that's what I can say. And everybody knows what it means. So that's it.
I think
It means, in my language, it means the same. Sunrise means east and sunset means west. That's what I can say from my, let's say, perspective.
I do enjoy this type of conversation, though. I'd like to push back a little bit on the circles. It's not because of a model, it's because there's a magnetic source. And I believe that the path of the sun is elliptical, somewhat circular, but I have no way to prove that. I do believe that. And I think that's allowed. That's pretty much.
Anyone is allowed to imagine whatever they want. It's the people that say they know, right? Without any proof,
I don't want
it's
you
hard to say
you
that
guys
you
to
know.
think that
but
I'm
it's
trying to
okay
push
for
a model of any
No,
kind.
no.
You know what I mean?
No. I was just using that as a point to say that the only reason you would want to curve these lines is because there's something that's telling you that you need to be able to curve the lines, right? Whatever that is the model that you have that tells you it might be necessary for you to curve one of them. So you've got some sort of a magnetic model that's wanting you to curve the lines. Now,
Well,
does that want you to curve the
some
north
sort of
and the
magnetic
south?
force that forces. Well, I'm just saying there is some sort of magnetic force that is attracting the needle to the north.
Okay. And
so if
do you
if it's
know
a
the
singular
north
point
to be
source,
a point?
Sorry?
Do you know that the north is a point?
No.
For
But
me, it is.
I don't ascribe to a Pac-Man model because we know that if we travel east and west, we will end up at the same spot.
Do we?
Well, flight paths prove it. People do take flight. I believe people take flights. Not like my
But they
son
just
thinks
keep
Italy
going
doesn't
east and
exist
end
because he ain't
up at
been
the
there.
same place.
Yes. Not without having to do some more digging, but I take it, I guess, a little bit on faith that if you keep traveling to eastern points, like keep traveling east to points that are known on a map, you will end up back at your location.
Right. Well, I wouldn't be able to state that.
No, I'm like I said, I'm taking it a bit on faith that when people travel from point to point that are mapped, they will eventually end up back where they started.
You can't go from point to point to end up where you are because both of those points are where you are.
No. Okay, let's say I have 30 points in my flight plan, and I end up back where I started by only traveling in variations of east, like a few degrees off east each point that I'm going to. I'm not trying to push them all. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from. Like, I wish I had my whiteboard
wants us all to agree on sunsets and stuff.
I have some problem because Kevin said that sun is rather that he cannot see that sun is going curved path. I can see that with sunrise and sunset. It's not going in straight line. Absolutely, it's going like in a circle. So it is most visible at sunset and sunrise. That because when it is above your head, it is really hard to see this curvature of the path of the sun. But at sunset and sunrise, it is clearly visible. And by the way, if midnight sun is true, maybe Sarugaki will help us because I don't know at what point he is living, but if he observed midnight sun or people that can see midnight sun, they can state that the sun is making a circle. It's visible 24 hours and is making a circle. They have to turn around in a circle to see the sun, and they can see the sun the whole 24 hours. So for me, if midnight sun is true, for me it is definite proof that sun is making a circle.
What thing in the this isn't Buster's got us one of these ones, but I mean, check out those.
I'm with paper.
You see those lines? Do they look like they're curving, or are they going straight?
You mean your sun rays?
Yeah, they're going from one side to the other. When you look out at them at the side, do they look like they're curving?
Why sun rays should curve?
Well,
I'm talking
same
about
thing
straight.
about the sun.
They're parallel.
No.
I think they're parallel.
Absolutely, but it doesn't mean that the path of the sun itself has to be straight.
No, I'm just saying like that. Those paths of those the light out in the distance all go from the same point to the same point, from one side to the other. But because they're going out at the side, it looks like they're curving to me.
No, well,
That's the optics of the lens.
It's not. It's in reality, that's what it looks like when you're looking out in the distance. I'm not saying.
Yes, you
I'm
also
not
have a
saying
curved lens
anybody's
on your
wrong
eyeball.
or anything. I'm not arguing
I
with
know.
people about what the
I'm
sun
with you.
does or
I'm
whatever.
I'm
I'm just
tracking.
saying that there is an optical phenomenon that could make the path be straight. I mean, how do you know it's circular?
That was going to be my point exactly. When
No,
someone says they know X,
I know that okay.
that's my problem.
I am talking about path of the sun. I am not talking about path of sun rays.
Even when you say path of the sun, paper, how do you know that the path of the sun is curved?
It seems to curve.
24 hours of daylight.
So you cannot know.
From that, I can see the curved path of the sun. Like, okay, I can let's say make that concession that it is not definite proof that the path of the sun is curving, but that's why I said if we can, or some people can observe midnight sun going around full circle many days. This is called midnight sun at north latitudes. So it is definite proof that the sun is making a circle, because you can observe the circle. You can stare at the sun the whole day and make the circle. You have to turn around yourself. If it is true that there is midnight sun, for me it is definite proof for sun making a circle. How could you disprove that?
I've never seen midnight sun.
Personally,
so I cannot know.
I didn't, but for example,
midnight sun sounds so fucking ridiculous.
it is just called ridiculous. That way.
I know. But it does. It's one of those things that sounds ridiculous.
I can't. Sorry, Bev. Let me just finish this. I can't. No more can I say that that the 24-hour sun is proof of anything for me than I can say pictures from the ISS is proof of anything for me. If I have to take one, I have to take the other.
Can I? If you actually took a trip to like Norway or Sweden or wherever it is that people do have this Then you would say, yeah, I've seen 24 hours of sun
If
for 3
I
days.
saw it myself and I was
Yeah,
there, then yes, I'd have to say
Yeah.
I've seen the 24-hour sun.
Okay, but
I just want to make sure you're open to the idea.
But still, my
'Cause
point is
I'm
that
pretty sure I believe that I've seen a video of somebody
Believe, and you've seen a
tracking it for
video. How is
24
that?
hours.
How is that
Yeah,
different
no,
than what
I
you've
know,
seen
I know.
with the
I'm with you.
ISS, Rob?
No,
You guys, you
I
can't.
agree with you.
This is the
I-
thing, right?
I
People
agree
can't
with
have
you.
it both ways, but they want to have it both ways.
I agree with you. I see where my error is, but I can still believe that the sun
You can
travels in a
believe
circle.
anything you
Yes.
like, and Bev has said that.
I'm with
I've
you.
said that. No one's trying to take your 24-hour sun away.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Now,
Or paper
here's the thing
circular
as
path
well,
of the sun.
right? You've got your belief of travels. Well, things travel that like what's it traveling in? That's the thing. Again, further you don't knows. One argument leads credence to the next argument, but you don't realize that you've granted another thing in your assumptions to begin with. For it to be traveling, what does that mean? What power have you granted it? I may be doubtful, may be skeptic, right? But I don't know about the light in the sky. I don't know what it is. Don't even know what the moon is. You can look at that one better.
I don't claim what sun is and what moon is, and if I say that I don't claim, it means that I don't know of what the sun is made and of what the moon is made. But I can see just lights, like objects, like light bulbs in the sky. Just it. So, because, for example, on flat Earth side, this is specifically Arrhenian, let's say, argument that we don't know what sun is. I know sun is the light in the sky. I can see that, and moon just as light in the sky. This object, light is object for me because I can see something, light coming from what? From object, from the source of the light. So for me, this is sun, like bulb, light bulb in the sky.
It's always weird when we end up with the, because we started up north and south, and now we're talking of lights in the sky.
See what I told you? It always happens.
Yeah, you can
Always.
can't stop it.
But it
Nope.
has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. But we can, for example,
we weren't talking about the shape of the Earth. We were talking about north, south, east,
Magnetic
and west.
north. Magnetic
Yes.
north.
That's that again. That's where we didn't manage to get to. Rob, do you imagine like a magnet mountain? Just you know, as a like a
Yeah, no, I don't. Okay, I don't mean to laugh so hysterically, but I've never been to where the compass is pointing.
yeah. But do you in your idea of this? Do you imagine that there is like a magnet mountain where the compass points at? Like the compass is going this way. Come on.
Maybe I don't know. So I don't claim to think there's a mountain. I think there's a magnetic source. What that source looks like, I have no idea. I don't even try to speculate. But that needle is pointing to somewhere.
Hmm.
That's the most I can glean from that.
You want me to tell you another thing funny?
I need like half an hour. I won't be able to talk, but I'm
Okay.
listening. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Okay, next time, remind me to tell you something funny about a compass, Rob.
I will. I love compasses. Do you know they even make spherical compasses?
Just remember, compasses have 2 poles, they tell us, right?
Uh-huh.
Keep that in mind. I know you can't talk now, but for future.
Okay, I am off to bed.
Okay,
Time
thank
for
you
me.
very much, Piper.
Good night.
Night.
Later.
Later.
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
where we were. That got a bit
The north,
off
south,
track.
east, west thing really.
Yeah. It does, doesn't it? That's one of
Yep.
the. I think that's one of the best sort of conversation points. We do have many of those sort of little things, but they do cause people to have differing opinions.
Yep.
What were you guys saying about not talking about the model before?
Yeah, well, that
one
it
exposes
just brings
the
a model.
trichotomy.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It screams model, right? Because
Yep.
you got down to the end of it where both Rob and Paper had to concede that they cannot know, right? So it is this idea of knowing what it is that you can know, what it is that you do know, and what is it that you're taking on faith, right?
Yeah,
Because
where's
you've
the
heard of
dogma?
something, you've seen something in a video, you heard tale of something happen or not happen, what have you. But you personally, right? This is where, one of the most profound things for me when I came into this Discord server was when Bev said, "What's a proof to you?" Not can I prove anything to you, because I can't give you a proof. And I think that may have been one of the first questions you asked me, or spot on asked me, I can't remember. And I never had really thought about it. Like, what is a proof to you? What do you actually know? Because you as an individual have experienced it, done it, know it. There you go. And that's different for every person because every person has different experiences. But to me, you have to be okay enough. You have to have enough epoche, right? You have to be okay with your epoche to say, hey, if I haven't done it or seen it with my own eyes, my own self, I cannot know. So maybe there's a lot of evidence, maybe there's a lot of videos, maybe there's a lot of whatever, but I cannot know. That freaks people out. I'm finding people don't like to not know, which is weird. It's a psychological thing with human beings, I think. When they get challenged on what they think that they know, and then they find out that they really don't know what they say they know, it's like some people just get triggered. They just can't handle it.
Yeah, it's the fact that I think what troubles people the most, or what people get most frustrated when they're talking to me, is that I don't have a model. So not having I guess they take it as a position, right? Whenever you're having an argument, right, they're having an argument based on these models. Whereas if you don't actually have one of the models, then most of the people that get frustrated because you don't have a model either the same as them or the model against that they're ready to argue against. Especially within this arena, it's the false dichotomy that's been set up.
Yeah, you have to have one opinion or the other, one side or the other. You can't have like your own thing, it appears. Well,
Exactly.
that is not going to work with me or most of us here.
Exactly. Yeah, and then you come to find out that even on the different sides, there's variations of the sides, and
Yes.
so how I know then. Talk about what you know. How I know that these things are faiths, religions, and not facts and knowledge, because that's exactly what happens in the worldwide religions. You go to any Christian religion, and you start looking at the variations of United Methodists and Free Methodists and Baptists and evangelicals and Assembly of God. I mean, I'm just laying them out there. There's hundreds of different sects and variations of this religion or that religion. Same thing with the globe Earth and the flat Earth argument on both sides. Same thing. That tells me right there, that's a faith. You're dealing in things that you don't know. That's why you have the variations, because otherwise you would be able to, both parties would be able to predicate upon which they are observing, right? Like, I'm holding this silver Yeti cup in my hand. You guys can't see it, right? But if we were all together in a room, unless somebody was colorblind and that's the thing we're arguing about, or you were blind altogether and you can't see it, everybody would come to the same conclusion that I am holding a silver Yeti cup in my hands. Everybody would agree. But you can't get that kind of agreement in this arena. But people are constantly, I know this and I know that and I know this about the earth and I know that about the earth and you're wrong. It's freaking comical. Which is why I think they get upset about Bev when Bev says the earth's not flat, because that's something I know. I can walk outside. I'm looking out my window right now. That ground right there definitely is not flat. There's no doubt that ground's not flat. So I can know that. It's the strangest thing.
I said at the beginning of this, right, I've got a mission to remove Euclid from the equation, right? There's a group of people who I consider reality to be Euclidean, right? Obviously. And that's what these people told me. Their argument against my argument from reality seemed to be by calling me a flat earther, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a flat earther, but the argument from reality still stands. And I said at the beginning of this, I'm going to take from them Euclidean geometry. I'm going to make them give it up. And they have. That's why my mission is done. Right? I've literally got a group of people so obsessed with something that these are probably the people that brought me in. You know, these trolls that have 8 and 9 accounts and they support each other.
Right.
They're the ones that draw people into this just so they can ridicule them and, push their agenda for their model. I said I'm going to make them give it up. Now all we need to do is go out and show people in reality how serious these guys are. They're going to force you to give up Euclidean geometry through under weight of ridicule or whatever by trying to call you a flat earther. And these people
We already
are making
did today.
Yeah. Go on.
I said level is horizontal, and they said, well, Don said, well, that means you're a flat earther. Yeah. So a simple statement like level is horizontal, that means you're a flat earther.
All horizontals being parallel. That makes
Ooh,
you a flat earther.
Yep.
Definitely.
Just take a poll. Go out into your town. Go out if you've got a I don't know, a get together or whatever. Just take a poll without any biasing, without any trying to explain it, and just say, is level horizontal? You see how many flat earthers there are out there, quote unquote flat earther, because you're a flat earther. No, it's just freaking common sense. Level is horizontal, of course it is.
Yeah, this is the one I think. the latest one. I mean, most of the geometric facts that we've got, but this is, I think, advanced simplicity for the argument. Obviously, any one of these arguments can be built upon. They're not really arguments. They're basically statements of fact, but they're the most triggering statements of facts you could ever give. And they're only triggering to dogmatic globe believers. Anybody who lives in reality will have all of these already implemented in their reality globe. It's no problem to anybody that lives in reality, works in reality, and practically deals with things in reality. Horizontal and vertical are perpendicular. Check. Yep. All verticals are plumb. Well, that's a bit challenging for some people. It's getting a bit dodgy, but I mean,
put a plumb line up.
Yeah, in reality, yes.
Yep.
Horizontal is a plane. Whoop. Well, there you go. I mean, obviously, in reality, but dogmatic globe believers, you can't have that.
Nope.
Vertical is a plane. Whoop. Nope.
Can't have that
Can't
either.
have that either. But in reality, of course. Now, if you want to explain to people about how ridiculous this is, then that's all I think you have to do. You don't need to go into the depths of the model. If you just say, do you know what's possible in reality? And as soon as they agree with you, then you can safely say that if those people come in contact with these dogmatists, then they'll be getting called flat earthers by crazy people, model obsessed, dogmatic globe believers. They're worse than flat earthers in my book, but they sort of run together. They need each other.
Yeah, some sort of symbiotic relationship in this arena.
So from now on, you won't be hearing us talk to them, really, because I don't think they'll want to come and talk to us. You can only expose dogma. And once you know that people have dogma with no proof, then they're not really that keen to come and talk with you, because you can easily expose the fact that they have no proof and only have dogma. Especially when you know their dogma inside out and you can show contradictions that they have to hold. That can become very embarrassing. So,
absolutely,
that's where we're at. And we will be developing these arguments. We didn't really get that far with the arguments, but how did you think that went? Modus ponens, modus tollens. And the modus tollens, obviously, is the triggering one, isn't it? Is it worth bringing that in? Or does it make people inquire about the level being horizontal? And then the rest of the arguments build upon that? Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you then, people are inquiring, well, is level horizontal then? Because that's what you need to disprove whatever. And then if you go to the transitive law to state that horizontal and level are both an equal elevation, then people can check that, can't they? That, you know, there is no slope to a horizontal and there is an equal elevation to level. So it then, you know, like people are on their way then to be able to know that the modus tollens is there. Or, you know, transitive. What was the other one? QED. A demonstration one. It could be working for either one there, really, couldn't it? We've got one for vertical planes.
Right.
And we also have realizing Euclid, which is a sort of a demonstration that you can do for yourself. within an argumentation form, QED. And then the reductio ad absurdum, which is obviously simultaneous below. The reciprocal Rumpers-Pole sightings. Because I've got one for Blue Marble as well, and his zenith angle ridiculousness that he's talking about. We haven't really talked much about that, but unfortunately there is a group of boomers that have been set up tremendously, and they've been the ones that took the bait on the hook, right? Everyone else has left us alone, but there has been a few favoured, let's say, Blue Marble scientists hanging around. And yeah, I've got the reciprocal zenith angles that doesn't involve the external. Has a very, very simple solution to it. Which I'll leave on for hopefully when we get the globe surveyors in. Some experts. So yeah, what do you reckon to that? A series of arguments do like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe even less. I bet you could do it in a minute, couldn't you? A quick syllogism.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And build them up, all based around similar sort of theme, all building up upon each other, giving people a way to implement them into reality, into their own model, and see how well people can take those into the model.
Yeah. Yep.
Ooh, a new CloudBot feature. Command for YouTube ad breaks. Don't know what that is. Streamlabs getting good.
All right, I have to run.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end it up here. Finish a little bit early tonight. What have we got tomorrow?
I'm going to try and have that video for you tomorrow, Bev. I do want to kind of go over it just to do some psychology.
Yeah, Kevin.
Psychology would be nice.
Yeah.
Hang on. Let me check my calendar. Make sure I'm going to be able to be here. Wednesdays are not good for me anymore.
No, Thursday.
Oh. Yeah, I should be fine tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Thursday. I'm gonna try and steal my wife's phone tonight and get it done.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it tomorrow. Sounds like fun.
It should we only really need to go over the first half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, that'll take a good hour and a half.
Yeah.
Half hour.
All right. See you all tomorrow.
All right. Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
good deal.
Rob.
Oh yeah, Buster.
Yeah.
I need a Buster song.
I know. Do you want to?
Your choice tonight. That's your choice tonight. I'll take any of them. It'll be my favorite song.
One chance.
One chance. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
My too, Rob.
Okay, so
And
join
see you
us
tomorrow.
Hopefully, we'll be going over a video that Rob Keene's going to get for us. It's a member requested video for us to go over with a bit of psychology. Yeah, asking. Should be good. We're going into the new realm. Moving on. Not only arguments, but going into the reasons for it, mental reasons. Right, okay. Buster's going to sing us out, as always. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us tomorrow. We are hopefully going to be going over this video with Rob. See you then.
enough confidence in the things that I know. I have enough wisdom to see the logic will be shown. I got one chance to show you what I got. I got one chance to show I'm confident or not. Self-evident reason, deductions and conclusions, and the fools are running away. It's not what you say, it's only what you can prove. You better watch your step, you better mind your P's and Q's. You got one chance, show me what you got. You got one chance, show you confident or not. Don't get caught in the matrix of all of these fakers. Society's spinning, and I'm just here living on the ground. Self-evident reason, deductions and conclusions, logically thinking, and the fools are running away. You're flipping over backwards to show me where you think you are. Your model dictates that you never see too far. Shrinking in the distance, you can do fuck all with